This is Gary Wilson, and welcome to this week's live Path to Profit webinar. Uh, Welcome aboard to all of the new folks, especially, and the veterans too, no matter where you are, whether in the US or Canada or even the Caribbean. If you're new, a couple little housekeeping items. You'll notice that first off, you're by default in mute mode, and that's by design because it just can't have 100 people live audio at the same time. So you can use your question box to post questions, okay? From time to time, I will unmute you if it's something we think that would be a good idea. Otherwise, we'll just read off the questions and answer them right here live online. Now, this week's webinar is obviously a special webinar, not the normal regular webinar we do every week where we go over content. We've got a special guest, Rock Thomas, who I'll introduce here in a moment. So if your questions tonight, if you could keep them focused on what Rock's going to talk about, that would be awesome. And a little bit of a heads up here, you've all seen the announcements that Rock's going to be on tonight. He's also going to be in Orlando at our 3-day event, March 16th, 17th, and 18th. That's the Champions Gate Resort just south of Disney World. We've got shuttle services to and from Disney World. The resorts waive their resort fees. They knock parking all the way down to like $5 a day, and they've also reduced their room fee by a full third. So awesome weekend, lots of content, lots of education, lots of networking. And now, thanks to Rock, we've got a really spectacular event because of his presence. If you haven't ever heard of him before, you definitely will, and most of you probably have actually, because I mentioned him before. So in any case, please, one more thing, look for the email tomorrow from Beverly, and look for any updates she's making to the systems or the content and our training platforms. Really important that you keep up with those emails and pay attention to what Beverly has to say. And also, you can keep those recordings forever. They're yours. You've earned them, and they're yours forever. So without further ado, guys, I want to introduce Rock Thomas. Rock's become a good friend of mine over the last several years. We met at a GoBundance event in Lake Tahoe in March of 2015. I had breakfast with Rock and his son, Andrew. And right away, both of our sons are named Andrew. They're both the same age. Rock and I are the same age. And lo and behold, we do this metabolic age test at that event. Now get it, we're 52 years old. Both of our numbers came back and said we have the physical presence. Like our bodies are 20 of a 26-year-old. So of course we're feeling pretty good. Rock and I have similar backgrounds. So in any case, without further ado, Rock, let me go ahead and introduce you. And if you could, Rock, just go ahead and start in on, who you are.
Sure.
And some people know you, some people don't. And thanks, man, I can't even thank you enough for being here, brother. So I really appreciate this,
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And Alex is telling me that you have to send me a share webcam request if you want to see my face. So if you want to work on that, I'll do a little bit of an intro.
Okay.
And the quick story is that I grew up on a farm, and for 20 years I used one way to try to gain my wealth and to buy back time freedom by working 12, 14, 16 hours a day, driving taxis, building decks, using my hands basically, not my brain. And then my father was diagnosed with cancer. I took time off from work, and by the time I came back to my world, I had no passive income, and I'd lost everything. The real estate I owned, the relationship I was in, my job. I was evicted from my apartment, and I was 30 years old, sleeping on my mom's couch, thinking to myself, what am I going to do now? I was exhausted. I was really, really good hard worker, but there was no way for me to handle crises in life with this one strategy. So out of desperation, I went into real estate, funnily enough, because I needed to make money quickly. And I met my first millionaire mentor, which changed my life. And Gary, I've learned since then that you cannot resonate or reside in a frequency or in a place that you're not comfortable with. So every time hang out with you and want to learn from you is because they need to experience the conversation that you provide, the wisdom you provide, the evidence that it's possible to do what you do. So this millionaire mentor provided that evidence for me that, yes, Rock, you could do it. yes, you have the ability to use not just your brawn, but your brain. And he guided me to become the best real estate agent in that office. I went from selling one home the first year under another brand to moving to his office, 34 homes, 65 onto 101. And then I bought the company and I sold $1 billion worth of real estate a year and turned this company into the most successful real estate company in the province of Quebec with 270 agents, which, Gary, back 25 years ago, that was unheard of. The typical real estate office was 18 to 20 agents. And I had 6 offices with 270. And it was all because he was the wind beneath my wings. He gave me belief. He gave me reference when I fell down. He told me to get up. It was normal. And as you know, I've gone on since to make it the mission of my life is to be that person for other people and to share what I've learned and to be that conversation that you want to have. And I've coined a phrase that your friends are comfortable with your present and your mentors are comfortable with your future. And I'm very comfortable with the future of giving people passive income, success, high levels of energy, be incredibly productive with their time because I'm fascinated by psychology and giving people the edge. And that's really become the mission of my life. And that's, you know, why you and I are talking today, because hopefully I can add some value to the people that, you know, you're impacting.
Yeah. I love hearing that story. I love that you share it openly and freely. And, you know, it's inspiring to me because I know, you know, any human being at some point in their life is going to go through life challenges. Sometimes it happens all at once. Sometimes it's spread over. You know, it's just the fact is it's a certainty you can count on it. The reality is the people that succeed, I've noticed, are the ones that for somehow or another, I used to wonder, how are they maintaining their composure? Why aren't they just like flipping out? And they may internally, I don't know, but the fact is they always would get back on the horse. They get back on the horse and get back in the race, no matter what happens. And they also were like just an unbelievably, just flat out persistent. Just there's who was it? Tony Robbins' right hand man that just passed away a few years ago. I'll think of his name later. But in any case, he used to call it um, uh, pig determination.
Ched somebody.
Chet Holmes,
Ched
yeah.
Holmes. Yeah.
So I got to know his daughter Amanda. She's and she's taken over the company, Chet's company, since he passed away. But those are the two character traits I've recognized. And what it also recognizes is that a lot of people who have succeeded in my mind, whether it's relationships, financial success, business, whatever, um, they they just had a certain belief about themselves, but they also recognize in others that their success leaves clues. Okay. And a lot of them didn't start off with a silver spoon in their mouth. They started off like you and I did. I mean, I grew up so far up. My main road was a dirt road when I was a kid. I was wearing Goodwill clothes, school lunch program. And I was blessed to have a roommate named Socrates in college. My freshman year roommate was Socrates. Father was a Greek immigrant, taught us. He helped us buy our first house. He didn't give us the money. He didn't give us the fish. He taught us how to fish. So if I have one really lucky stroke, it's because my freshman year roommate's father took us under his wing. He was the wind beneath my wings. And I always figured out, man, if he can do it, that guy can barely speak English. Anybody can do it, you know? So in any case, I want people to recognize that this isn't like stuff that you see on TV. This is real world stuff, guys. And no matter where you start in life, you can always progress further just by looking at what other people leave behind in the way of clues. Success leaves clues. So, Rock, if you wouldn't mind, um, I love what you're doing with the folks around you. If you want to, if you could talk a little bit about the what part of it. So, like in the last few years, you've developed this M1 group, and it's allowed you to take what you've accomplished, building a big brokerage company, investing, and transferring that on to other people through the M1 group. And I've been privileged to be able to help them too and teach them on a couple of occasions. But to me, that's sort of the what. So like what does that look like when it shows up with the world? And Rock Thomas has helped these people. And M1 is one of those examples I can think of, you know?
Yeah. Well, first of all, people, the desire to grow and to live a full, abundant life is what fuels us. We had the Super Bowl, you know, 24 hours ago, and that's the biggest event in the world pretty much. And people get to showcase that they've stepped into best version of themselves. And I think innately we all want that, but we've got to overcome our fear, doubt, and worry. And unfortunately, they don't teach you in school how to do that. And if you don't have that inner resolve, that innate drive, you don't learn how to program and overcome defeat. And one of the things I teach is that nothing has meaning but the meaning that we give it. You show up at an event and you have, I checked into this beautiful resort that I'm at here, and we got here last night and accidentally, my assistant booked March, not February. So there was no booking here. And we were here at 7 o'clock at night with no room. And she comes back to me and she felt terrible. And I said, well, just find out if they have another room. Yeah, another room, double the price. Okay, great, awesome, let's book it. We got booked into this room that's twice the size of what we need. But I'm not going to give it energy and feel upset or frustrated because it doesn't serve me to do that. She didn't do it intentionally, and she felt bad enough already without me making her feel worse. So I just said to her, I guess the universe wants us to be in this upgraded room. This is fantastic. This is amazing. I love it. And life is beautiful. And maybe I need to step up my game and just get the bigger room normally without trying to be, economical. There's no meaning until you and I give it meaning. So I've learned to become a meaning master, and it gives me uptime. It gives me time where I'm more productive and less playing the victim. It's a big part of my teaching because we live in a victim-riddled society where people want to blame everything. Oh, if it wasn't for the economy, if it wasn't, watch what's happening in the stock market right now. The stock market went down 1,000 points yesterday, 600 points on Friday. Uncertainty is raging in the streets. People don't know what's going on. This is when I excel. This is when I get excited because I know that I can stay calm, focused, and productive while other people are buying into their fear and doubt. Most people believe their doubts and doubt their beliefs. So when you get the psychology to be able to handle that, then you can triumph. But the reason I created M1 was to accelerate the process of success while giving people access to my knowledge and my network. So you're part of GoBundance. You and I have gotten to travel around, do events around the world, and we've had access to a lot of other people that have given us some wisdom, given us some insights, allowed us to open some doors into some networks that we wouldn't have been able to do or wouldn't have been able to do so rapidly. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rock. Yeah.
No, so I was just going to say that when we created that 5 years ago, me and 5 other guys, we just wanted to have high-minded conversations and travel around the world and do cool things and do adventurous things and live an epic life. And we gathered a few of our friends, including you, and we said, come hang out with us. And it's grown to over 400 people. We've affected many, many lives in positive ways. We have over $1 billion in net worth in the group. But what it's done is it's spawned off this other group of people that maybe don't have $5 billion worth of net worth, but they want to strive to their millions. So I created a group called M1 March to Your Millions, where we help people that aren't quite as far down the road as us. And I don't have all the answers. I have some. I have 34 streams of income now. I've opened up over 10 businesses in the last 3 years. I make money with cryptocurrency, with Airbnb. I'm innovative, I'm progressive, but I do all of that because I have access to people that have that wisdom, and I'm open to that conversation. And it's exciting for me because I watch so many people. Oh my God, I have so many testimonials, Gary, of people that have doubled their net worth in a year. People that have gone from working in a job to becoming an entrepreneur and buying and flipping properties or various things. And many of my students have become your students because you provide a lane or a vehicle for them to succeed in which they normally wouldn't. So we get to co-create and provide people with the wisdom and the edge that they wouldn't have in their day-to-day world.
Yeah. Well, I love it. I love the group. I love the concept. So for those of you on the call here, if you've heard me talk about this before, M1, they're people, they're ambitious. They've got the desire, they got the drive, and they've got enough sense about them to realize what Rock just said, which is, success does leave clues. And when you hang around other people who have the skills and the knowledge, you're going to gain those skills and knowledge. You have to give yourself permission to participate. And so the M1 group is the people who are trying to get to the first million in net worth. And every week I see you posting somebody else has hit their mark. And obviously it's hard to explain the fulfillment. I know, Rock, you get the fulfillment all the time. And every now and then I'll see somebody, hey, I know that guy. He was on the webinar I taught for Rock 3 months ago. And I'm like, man, this is awesome. And for those of you, if you ever wonder why do people like us teach, you just have to experience it. It's one of those things that's hard to put into words, but you cannot imagine the fulfillment you get in the feed. Just look at the testimonials on my website. These are all people, regular folks like I was years ago. And if you want to learn more about M1, you can Google Rock. Just go to type in line rockthomas.com, and you'll get all kinds of information. I highly encourage you to look at that if you're, if you like the content you have in these training programs, but you feel like you're not really achieving the results as fast as you want to. You don't feel like you've got that clear vision. I would highly encourage you to seek out Rock. So now, Rock, a couple of things you mentioned are so ironic. We have so much in common. I was out in California last year, hopping around for 3 months, Southern California. I stayed at one stint at a place called Terrania, right on the coast south of LA, with the little peninsula that sticks out. Beautiful, real nice, affluent resort. Well, when I get to the front desk, I had the same thing. I got the wrong night schedule, but I had to have a place. I'm like, do you have anything? Of course they did, but it was the one that was like $2,400. So I said, I don't have a choice. I've got to have it. I'm so glad I did, Rock. It was one of the best stays I've ever had. I got to see the sunrise and the sunset. There was a peninsula. Did one of my best webinars from that room. And then 6 months later, my daughter and her husband stayed out there at the same resort. It was just, in any case, crazy things happen. But same thing, I realized at that moment, I could, just like anybody, I have the ability to let that define me and take over and get upset. But I realized, well, it doesn't make any sense. That's not a good use of my time. What's done is done. It's time to move on and move forward, So I just thought it was kind of interesting you shared that tidbit there.
Well,
But
yeah, Gary, it's life. Life is happening all the time. The road with no obstacles leads to nowhere. And if you don't put obstacles in your way, in other words, set goals and define a great life, then, the creator will do that for you, because you are designed to grow. You're not designed to just fade. People make the mistake of wanting to be comfortable in their life, but comfort means you're not growing, but we're designed to grow. So why not choose the path of growth? That's what I do. I choose to get up early. I choose to work out. Last month, I chose a challenge of doing 500 push-ups a day for 30 days. I ended up doing an average of 430 over 20 days because I got some feedback from people when I was posting saying, Rock, you need to rest a couple of days in between. It doesn't serve you. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But I take on these challenges, and that's why maybe you and I have a physical life that's a little bit different, 26 years old, probably we're 29 now, but I get to do things because I choose the obstacles.
Right.
And when you're in momentum like that, and then something comes up, it's much easier to have it glide off of you because you're moving already. People that are waiting for life to happen for them and just, hey, here's an opportunity. Hey, you should just make this investment in Bitcoin and double your money in 3 weeks and have no risk and then get out at the perfect time. That doesn't happen. It's an illusion. People try to say it'll happen, but you know what? Even if it does happen, Gary, we all have a blueprint. And I say to people I work with, I go, okay, tell me what your net worth is. They go 100,000. I go, if I give you $1 million, what do you do with it? Most of them don't know. Why? Because they don't think about it. They don't spend time there. So
Right.
even if you got $1 million, you would be clumsy. If Gary, if you and I could walk into Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger's body at their peak, when they had worked so 5-6 hours a day to musculate their body, and we were given that body, don't you think we would be awkward in it?
Yes. Yep.
It's the same thing with finances. That's why people need to spend time around you in real estate, in the conversation, going to events, hearing other people. When I go to an event and when you and I met and you were traveling around doing all these going to the Keller Williams offices, and I was doing something similar the year before, I'm like, all right, to make sense, like he's like me and I'm like him and we're doing this and that's kind of normal, and Oh, he showed up at an event and there was supposed to be 40 people and there was 8, and it happened to me too. Okay, it's not me. I'm not a loser. And then he showed up at another event. There's supposed to be 20 and there was 60. Oh, and what did he do? And you get the permission to be human around somebody else that is also awesome. And that's the part that I think people don't get. Get out there, show up at events, be around other people that are charging toward the dream you want. And you're just going to look around and you go, Rock and Gary are not that different. We're just
Right.
maybe a little bit more consistent. We have a couple of little insights that they don't have, so that when they drop the ball, we don't quit. We just run back and go get it again and take another shot, and little things like that. If I can, I'd love to read you a tiny little testimony here I got from a guy
Okay.
in M1, just to give you an example. So his name is Derek Clifford. He's out in California, I believe. And he goes, I usually don't post much, but I want to express my gratitude to all the M1 individuals over the last year and a half who have transformed my life, doubling my net worth, strengthening my relationships, pushing me in obtaining 12 rental properties out of state while working a full-time job, helping more people become, helping me to become a more patient and resilient person, encouraging me to complete a 10-day silent meditation retreat. It's not just about money. We're whole life millionaires where you expand your entire life. Traveling and cruising around Europe with my family and for 3 weeks. I would never have done that. Creating the opportunity to work directly with some of the guys from Go Abundance, like Gary Wilson. Building my reputation as a successful real estate investor among my entire network. What has really especially hit me hard was that by becoming a better and more giving person, with the knowledge I have gained from this group to others outside the group, I have literally attracted wealth into my life by sharing what I've learned with other people. Below is a screenshot of the balance of the new business account I have set up in the last few days to participate in an apartment syndication with my brothers. Major takeaway is all of this is other people's money. The person I have become is more than I could ever have possibly imagined over a year and a half ago. Thanks to all of you in the tribe, M1, for marching with me. And thank you, Rock Thomas, for creating something truly special.
Yeah, that is awesome. Yeah. I love that. And the fact that he mentioned growth and you talked about growth too. And I really want to emphasize that, guys, is, this universe we're in, regardless of anybody's particular religion, the fact is we are spiritual beings and we live in this beautiful, big, abundant universe. The creator didn't create a universe of scarcity and lack. The universe is a universe of abundance. And when you recognize that and you're part of that, you're automatically abundant. Just recognize that you are part of the universe. And by default, you're now an abundant person. It's just a little shift in your mindset. It's just acceptance. All it is it's like a choice, a decision. You realize, to me, it was like an awareness. I think, my gosh. So when people ask me, Rock, I know you've seen this before. Well, how much do you want? What is your goal? 100 million, $1 billion, whatever. And I never understand. I understand the question, but I'm like, I can't tell you that because it's infinite. If I hit 100 million, that's just a measurement. I'm not going to stop. We're meant to grow, like you said, and the Earth. If you think about the planet, it is constantly changing. It's constantly growing and evolving. It never stops, and we're the same way. So in any case, I appreciate you sharing that. And so people are going to start having questions, Rock. I just want to tell you guys on the call here, we're going to save some time at the end to go through all the questions. I just want to keep going with Rock here while we've got him. So, Rock, as far as like M1, and I know you mentioned you're in Montreal. Some people have heard about M1 already because of me and maybe other folks that they're working with and learning from. Talk about the where. Like I know I've had students in M1 Group, Rock, that are in California. They're in the Bahamas. They're in Canada. That's like, so geographically, like that's not something. In other words, it's not a scarcity universe. It's an abundant universe. So does it really matter where somebody is, if whether they want to invest in real estate or not, or where they are as far as the M1 Group goes?
Yeah, the beauty is that technology has changed the way we can all learn and interrelate. And therefore, you can be anywhere. 3 years ago, I was walking through Machu Picchu listening to the 4-Hour Work Week from Tim Ferriss. And I thought, that's the way I want to live. I want to be able to take my laptop and my phone and go anywhere. And that's what it took me 2.5 years to really create it. Now I really am doing it. I've been here in Thailand for a month, and I've have been home for 4 days in the last 3 months because I don't want to be in cold Canada. It's just a choice. So we've created it so you can access the information anywhere. And I'll tell you, Gary, you know, I've been a Tony Robbins trainer for 17 years. I've done a lot of transformational work. I've invested over $1 million over the years in personal development. And I realized that you've got to layer in different pieces in order for people to transform. So in M1, we have actually 7 different ways that we impact people's lives. And the very first way that we impact people's lives is by taking all of those, you said success leaves clues. We've studied the multimillionaire mindset, the whole life millionaire mindset, the most successful people. What are their habits, rituals, traits, their methodologies, their principles? And we broke it into 52 little chunks, if you will. And then we download these chunks into people's brains. Because if you're on this call, I want you to think about what's in your bank account. That's a result. What's the amount of your body is a result, and your relationships or your passion, your level of energy is a result. All of those things will, in most likelihood, not change unless you purposefully set goals and charge toward it. Why? Because we tend to stay comfortable with what we're comfortable with.
Right.
Now, if life comes along and goes wham and provides you with a car accident, a disease, or something, you may wake up, but most people don't. So you've got to get yourself into an environment where we're downloading new programming. We're downloading new programming. Here's a ritual. Here's a routine. Here's a thought. Here's a way you can respond to something. So we do that 52 weeks of the year. The second piece is we've realized that even with that information, it's not enough. Knowledge isn't enough. You know that, Gary. Knowledge is the beginning part, but it's the desire and motivation behind that and the belief to take action. So we bring in 52 different street smart millionaires, people who have bootstrapped it, and we get them to tell their story and their strategy. And when they do that every week and people listen to it, people are like, oh my God, I could relate. Oh my God, I could do that. Oh my God, that makes sense. He's nothing special. She's just like me. And they start to believe that they can do it, and they can make friends with these people and have conversations with them. And then they start to foster a belief. So now you get programming plus belief. And then what we've done is, through the study of Stephen Kotler's work in The Rise of Superman, he talks about the phenomenon of accessing dormant chemicals in your body. Did you read that book?
I did. Yep.
Yeah. So
Great
remember
book.
that these are people that are on the edge. These are your skateboarders and your snowboarders and your guys that jump out of planes and they just dive down these little suits. These people are going right to the edge of facing death. Learned is that chemicals get generated in the body that help discern better patterns: norepinephrine, anandamide, adrenaline, all these chemicals that give you access. Now, if you haven't done something like that, base jumping, I'm going to give you an example that people can relate to, Gary, is if you haven't done an exam or you haven't done something, a paper you needed to in high school or in college, the night before, and you stayed up all night and you crammed, is because your nervous system associated so much pain to not doing it that it manufactured these chemicals and it made you more capable. And people go, oh man, I'm going to wait until the last day. I perform better. Yes, you do. Yeah. But what successful people do, Gary, is they can manufacture these by putting themselves into a state of urgency in the moment. Yeah. So what we do is we get people to have challenges on a weekly basis, but only 4% outside their comfort zone, because scientifically that's proven that they'll grow the most and they'll retain the most. So we weave that in. So we got belief, we've got programming, we've got growth, but at the optimal level. And then if that's not enough, what we do is we weave in extreme accountability. So people are like, so how do you hold yourself accountable, Gary?
Well, I actually have a few people I work with, some of them from the GoBundance group, but also, my Peggy. She's actually one of my best accountability partners. It's a great high-level, high-minded relationship that's beyond the normal male female relationship. I mean, she doesn't let me. When I find myself wanting to just say like this is good, we accomplished this goal. Um, she's like, well, what's the next one, right? Like she's always asking me, don't ever sit still. There's no such thing as being done. There's no such thing as being done. So in any case, accountability is a big deal. I've had several partners over the years, and I've got 3 or 4 right now. And it does change. You'll have, like, I know you've got some of the guys at the top of Go Abundance you work with there, Pat and Mike and those guys. For me, it's always been kind of an evolving thing. Some people I pick up over time. Some people kind of fade off, and I still love them. They're still my friends and things like that. But when it comes to life and growth, I really choose to just want to be with people who are operating at that highest level of energy. And I get that from Go Abundance. It's really hard to get anywhere else. Be honest with you. I get it from Go Abundance. I get it from my dad, and I get it from Peggy. That's really, and a couple guys on the call here too. Faisal Khan, David Evans. I mean, some of my students. It's inspiring for me to speak with them. So
Yes.
I love it.
I have the same thing. And if people can see this is our one sheet
One
from
sheet.
Go
There you go.
Abundance. So I created a book here called Your Epic Life Planner, and it's a journal and it's a agenda and it's a goal setting document all in one. And we use this one sheet, this one page, we set our goals as a way to, cast a vision to what's important to you, activate your RAS and all those cool things. But I've learned also, I've studied accountability, and I've watched people come to Tony Robbins events and different events. And then 2 years later, I watched them come back and nothing's really changed. And it really was one of the reasons I created M1 is that you've got to have multiple layers of accountability. First of all, you got to create a vision and set your goals. And most people don't. Only 3% of the population actually do it in writing. And most of them don't really do it properly. Right. So we have a very specific system for do it. And I'll give you an example. People will say, like, I want to lose 20 pounds. Well, what you focus on expands. And when you say about losing pounds, you want to then later find what you lose. So you end up gaining them back. So we break it down to becoming very specific in the language, the terminology, and the energy you put around it so that people can actually get lasting results. That's what interests me, Gary, is lasting results. Not on a diet, but on a lifestyle, a whole life millionaire lifestyle. So number one is you got to set goals and you have to set them properly. Number two is you got to share them with some people that love you. When I say love you, I mean they care about your success. If you share them with other people that are around you, but they're not that type of person that truly care, they'll probably try to talk to, oh, come on, Gary, you're not working again tonight, eh? Come on over here, let's have a beer, man. Oh no, you're not going to try that business. Careful, the economy is toppy right now. I wouldn't do it. You might hurt yourself. Right. Now, you have to manage all that energy. In Go Abundance and in M1, we have a saying is we don't apologize for being awesome. Yeah. So when somebody says, hey man, I want to buy my first revenue property and I'm taking Gary's course and I'm excited about it, people go, that's amazing. I love Gary. He's the best. And he cares so much, man. He will take you to the finish line. He will make sure it happens. He's got the biggest heart I know of. Man, you're in the right place and you can make this happen. So any doubt they might have had, you actually quash that doubt and you give them encouragement and support, just like a great parent would give to a child. So the first thing is you got to tell people that love you, not just people who are around you. Third thing is you've got to tell your mentor or a coach, somebody around you that gets, somebody that's there already. Like Gary, who's done this a million times, you tell him, he's not going to go, ooh, it's not the right time. He knows where the landmines are set up. He's going to give you the confidence that you might not have yet, the encouragement and the challenge. But the piece that people rarely talk about, Gary, and this is the part that's given M1 so much success, is the peer pressure. Now, when you study psychology, think about when you were part of football team, military, a church, a chess club, a tennis group, a golf team. You wake up in the morning and you don't feel 100%, but it's your turn to sing in the choir. It's your turn to, back somebody up. You find a way to step up because the human spirit so badly wants to connect and belong that we can access that power by broadcasting to a peer group that we respect and respect us,
Right.
what our goals are. And that's what we do with our pods and in the community. And I'm telling you, you will find power you have never known existed unless you've been there before in the military or part of an organization where you had to step through. Most people psychologically, when they start to feel tired or uncomfortable, they're only at 40% of their capacity.
Right.
So, but they don't know that. And it's very common for people to go, oh, but I feel tired. And somebody goes, yeah, me too. You want to go get a Snickers or a coffee? Yeah, no, here, pass the Red Bull. And people live that way. But in our group, people live from a more genuine place of being motivated to make a difference. You know, you talk about how much wealth. I really believe in what you said about an abundant world.
Mm-hmm.
And there's enough oxygen, there's enough trees. And if you read the book Abundance, by the way, by Stephen, I think it's Peter Dianamis, he talks about that the solar power could give us enough energy to run everything on the planet, just the solar power, if technology caught up with it. There's enough water if we learn how to desalinize properly to nourish everybody on the planet. But what happens is we have this scarcity mindset, and a lot of it's propagated by the powers that be in order to rise, push the price of oil up and to push the price of milk up and all those things that benefit the individual. So we continue to put people into a place of belief of where you can create as much as possible. Yeah. And I do it because the more I can create, the more I can give back. And when we go on these trips, we built schools in Vietnam. We built stoves for people in Peru, and we went to Africa. We went to see the seniors and orphanages, and we give them money and toys and cool things like that. And selfishly, honestly, it makes me feel great. So I get to do it, but at least we feel like we're giving back, but we have the ability to give back. You may have heard the saying that it's better to give than receive. Mm-hmm. The actual saying is it's better to be in a position to give than to need to receive.
Right.
And I believe that what you and I are trying to do by helping people is to get them to put their oxygen mask on first, and then to be in a position to give, in a position to have time off to work on themselves from maybe a past that created some self-doubt and belief that they're not good enough and all that stuff that when you get deep into psychology, we all have that voice inside. We're not good enough. Do I deserve? Am I worthy? And all that. So once you get to visit that conversation and I get to have the time off to work on myself, then you start to realize that there's a duty or a dharma to live an abundant life.
Yep.
And M1 for me is my mission, because when people enter the M1 world and we weave in all those pieces, I've only gotten up to number 4 on you. There's a few more that layer in there. It's like the strands of rope. When we went on this trip to Norway, we went to a rope, not a factory, but a small little house at the base of one of the fjords where this family would make rope. And they brought us in and they demonstrated with weights. And I forget the exact amounts, but they would take one rope, one strand, thinner than my finger, and hang something on it and it would break. Then they'd put 2 together and hang the same thing and it would hold it. And then they would add rocks to it and it would break. Then they would put a 3rd strand around it and so on and so forth until you got to 7 strands. But there was this exponential growth in the capacity. Why? Because the strands get to lean against each other. They absorb tension and they become stronger exponentially with each one. And this is what I've done with M1 is I've layered in the challenge, the support, the belief, the peer group, the accountability, the exposure to access. And when you put all those together, I really believe you have a secret sauce of unstoppable success. Once you step into that environment, it's like being in fertile ground to grow something.
Yeah.
And now you just have to choose your lane. Do you want to learn how to buy and sell and flip properties, or do you want to invest in the stock market or write a book? And you will have all the resources capable for doing that.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Hey, is there as far as like the win, like if there is somebody on tonight watching, listening, I'm going to open up the panel here in a minute for some questions, but everybody's one of the limiting beliefs or one of the common objections I hear a lot from people as well is now's not a good time. Just because life happens. I get it. I mean, stuff happens to me too. Happens to everybody. But the fact is life's going to continue to happen. You've just got to make that choice to say, you know what, I'm choosing now to start making a difference. But I probably just let the cat out of the bag there. But if you could talk a little bit about the like timing, is there really a science behind when it's right for somebody to step up the plate like the group like M1? You know?
It's a great question, Gary. You know, I have a lot of people I talk to, and the two biggest stories we create in our own mind is I don't have the time and I don't have the money. The
Mm-hmm.
reality is when you enter our world, as we teach you about your money blueprint, and you realize that what we believe is 10% of your money should be tithed, but also 10% of your money should be put together for fun, and 10% of your money should be put together for education. And if you do that, think about whatever you're earning, 50,000 a year, 100,000 a year. Let's say it's 50. That's $5,000 you should spend on your education on things like this, or books, or conferences, or audio programs. But most people don't do that, so they don't improve. And when people tell me, well, you know what, things are going to get better in 2 months or 3 months, I'll join the program then. I ask them, look back 6 months from today. And did you say that to yourself, that in 3 months, 6 months, things are going to be better? And if you can honestly say they were, then you're probably on a good trajectory. But my experience is that most people aren't. People actually hope that things are going to get easier versus them becoming better. And that's something that is crucial. When I went to Tony Robbins' event back in 2001, I absolutely loved it. And I thought, I need more of this. And I wanted to join his Platinum Partner Group, which was 65,000 US. And I'm Canadian, so it's like 100,000 plus the travel, plus the hotels. You're looking plus the time off, which was going to be 30 or 40 days a year. And I was running a business. I had bought a job. It might have well been $1 million. But I teach something called say yes and figure it out later. You see, you can't get to second base with your foot on first, and you're not going to grow your wings by looking over the edge of a cliff. But the moment you jump off, something happens. It's like the universe goes, whoa, I guess Rock is serious. We better start flapping our wings and give him some feathers there, because he's going to die if he doesn't. You access those resources I talked about before. You become more alive and more capable. And people want to become more capable before they actually step into that arena. I joke with people and they say, yeah, but I want to lose 10 pounds. And you know, as soon as I lose those 10 pounds, then I'm going to start working out. I'm like, no, you have to start working out before you lose the 10 pounds. Yeah. People want the success to come, and then they'll join. So I joined, and I negotiated to pay monthly, $6,500. I put it on my credit card. And Gary is running my real estate office. In the third month, a guy who was a multimillionaire, I was not a millionaire at the time, gave me one idea, which was to put a toll at the front of my office and to charge mortgage brokers to come in and have access to my real estate agents, a small fee. And guess what? I had one meeting with one bank that lasted an hour and a half. We signed a contract, and I made $100,000 that year.
Yeah.
From one meeting. I didn't do any more work. Same people were coming to my office. They just paid a small toll, which was new at the time. Today it's common. And I made that for 7 years, and I sold my company for a higher multiple because of that revenue. I made over $1 million from that one mastermind group, from one conversation with one guy who thought differently than me. Yeah. So the answer is, you've got to have the leap of faith. The answer is, there's no perfect time. The answer is, if you don't have the $5,000, the $6,000, or the $100,000 like me, or the $500 a month, you have to ask yourself, why? Why can't I invest in myself? And if that's so, what am I willing to do? And this one guy once who wanted to join, and he was working 25 hours a week. He was 26 years old, living at his parents. And I spoke to him for 15 minutes, and I said, dude, go and apply for 20 jobs a day for the next 2 weeks. And don't call me back until you're working 60 hours a week and you can afford it. Because I don't want people in here that aren't hungry. Click, and I hung up on him. Yeah. Well, 10 days later, he called me back and he goes, I got 2 part-time jobs and I have enough money. Can I pay monthly? And I said, yes, you're in. Let's see what happens. He's
Yeah.
gone on since to become an independent entrepreneur. He now has 3 streams of revenue. His life has completely changed. And his father got sick, and he's now helping his father
Mm.
financially. So it needs to be uncomfortable for a lot of people, and it
Right.
probably will be, and it'll never be a time that is perfect. And if it is, then you're probably not thinking big enough. That would be my answer for that one, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. A lot of people times I like to ask this one question. Is your financial strain you're feeling now, has it been a recurring theme in your life? If it is, that means
Mm-hmm.
there's a deeper thing. It's not a money in your pocket thing. It's an up here thing. Um, and I asked him, so look, I just showed you everything that's possible for you in the way of investing or use of your real estate license if you have one. If you don't do it, what do you look at what you've not been gaining by not doing it so far? When are you going to put a stop to that, put a plug in that hole and start benefiting? So a lot of people that want to invest and they don't have money. Number one is you don't have to have money. I would rather them have money than not have money. So I say, look, if that looks scary to you, you know what, get your license. You're already out there investing, doing investing activities. Get a license, help other people invest. You satisfy 2 things. You get money coming in, you gain knowledge. And by the way, when you help enough other people get what they want, you're going to be able to get plenty of what you want. It's just a natural part of that abundance cycle. And I'll just kind of wrap up this thought with one lesson I learned from a minister one time, Rock. We were talking about this, and I said, I got to the point where I was able to give a lot to my children, to my parents, and I found myself like almost refusing everything that came away. Like my dad would say, "Let me help you out," and I said, "No, Dad, it's okay. I don't need it." The minister said, "Look, you're stopping the flow of abundance. Abundance is like electricity. It's receiving and giving." And he said, when you flip the switch off on any one of those, whether like in this case receiving, you're limiting your ability to give at some future point down the road. And so, like receiving gifts is actually a thing of grace. When someone wants to give you something, receive it gracefully. It's an honor for that person to give you something. So that's a small example, but I just wanted to wrap up that thought with that because, it hopefully will inspire people to take that step forward and to take action regardless of the circumstances. Because when you do that, it's like Goethe said, the German poet, when you commit to doing something, divine providence kicks in, and the right people show up at the right time, say the right thing, offer the right advice. Like the guy that's saying, "Hey, Rock, put a toll at your gate for the lenders." I mean, that wasn't by accident. That came about because you made yourself available to that. You know.
Yes, yes,
So,
I agree. And
um,
and it's almost like the world conspires to help you succeed when you have the courage
yep,
to step into the vision of where you want to go.
yep. Since I started this program, I've had more people. I mean, sometimes even just out of the blue, just say, I heard about your class from another team leader, another office man, or whatever, and can you come teach here? There's no better compliment to me than to hear that, um, especially when I get like a call back, and I've now taught 540 something classes in the last 3 years, and all of them now I'm going back for the second time. But hey, real quick, I want to get back. Sometimes I feel like I start to talk about myself too much. I don't want to do that. I want to make this about the people on the call. So, I think we've shown them, Rock, that what's possible. There is a path they can follow. They can join M1 if they want to. But how, um, if you could give people a little bit of how, like they might, let's just let them look at M1. I mean, they might say, I just want to take a look at it. What is it? How can they actually get more information on that? When I can tell them
Yeah,
what I know about it, but
and
yeah,
for
go
sure,
ahead.
Gary. And you and I, again, we're cut from the same cloth. I think, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Mhm.
So I can sit here and say that M1 is the greatest thing, and I truly believe it is the greatest mastermind on planet Earth. And we've helped 400 people go through the program. We've created 28 whole life millionaires and dozens and dozens and dozens of stories of people that have lost weight, become better mothers and fathers. And I'm completely committed to making people improve in every area of their life. And you know that all the work I've done on myself, I believe I can add value to every human I meet. I really do believe that. I believe I have a strategic mind, and I'm caring and I listen. So when I do pay attention, there's something I can add value for. But more importantly than that is drop by. You can go to rockthomas.com or go to gom1.com and you can fill out an application. You don't have to worry about high pressure, high sales. GoM1.com is a place you can fill out the application. You can be invited to a call where I'll talk a little bit more about it, or you can get onto a call, a one-on-one call with one of my directors of opportunity. And it's simply an assessment, because honestly, it's not for everybody. And we have different levels, Gary. We have, from $500 up to $20,000. It just depends on where you want to go in your life and how fast you want to go. If you want to, come to our events, or if you want to just be in the online community. We have people that are literally, I'm going to be meeting a guy that's here in Thailand. We have people in Australia. We have people in South Africa, Europe. They're all over the planet, and they're doing it virtually. And then we have a bunch of 25 events we do a year where people can come to those events, which is super cool, because it's through that human connection that you create these great relationships. We rent a house. It's a 15,000 square foot home in Mexico the first week of April every year. And we all stay together. We live together. We get a chef, and we go and rent a boat. We go whale watching, and we play Frisbee on the beach, and we get massages. And I believe in giving people an all-inclusive lifestyle. So once you get to the house, you put your wallet away, and it's all included. It's about $3,000 for 4.5 days. And you get pampered, you get well taken care of, and then we spend the evenings learning together. So it's a very, very cool environment. So GoM1, the place for them to fill out an application. We get to know you. We explain to you the different levels. If you have interest, the investment in yourself. And if it's a fit, awesome. And if there's not, you'll get one of my free books just for showing up, because information is something that I'm pretty good at creating. So I think it's win-win. And I would love to meet some of your people and see if there's a fit and see how we could help them, Gary.
Sure. I can think of a number of people off the top of my head, and hopefully they'll take you up on this. And I want to move into the final piece, Rock, which is the why, like why you do what you do. And I know I knew the answer, and some people here probably already gathered the answer. But before I do, I want to touch on something real quick and then turn it back over to you. Is when you were speaking earlier, Rock, about sort of loosely rephrase it, rising to the occasion, in other words, summoning that chemical that's in you in times of crisis, right? And I want to give an example to people. So I've experienced that. When I was a kid, I used to get what's called strep throat. And I would get it so bad, my trachea would close up and I couldn't breathe. And the first time I remember, I was like 5 years old, and I didn't panic because I just knocked on the wall. My mom came in and made everything better. But I kept getting it. I was 10 years old. She went to school for my sister's teacher parent working day, something like that. And she said, Gary, if you stop breathing, don't panic, go to the bathroom. Here's the medicine. Here's how you do it. Well, sure enough, it closed up, and I did panic, and I collapsed in the hallway. Okay. Wow. And she got home in time, took me to the hospital. They got me revived, everything. Years later, I broke my back in a skiing accident, and wow. I temporarily lost the use of my right leg. I wasn't able to walk. I couldn't drive, anything. And when the doctor came in and told me after the surgery, he said, you've lost the use of your right leg. It's not functioning right now. Not the feelings of not being able to breathe, but the internal feeling of, I've got to do something. I have to do something. I've got to take some action here. Came back 100% from like 30 years earlier. And I remember thinking to myself, I could just give in. This is easy. I could collect whatever disability and let people take care of me and just relax and maybe write books and enjoy. And I thought to myself, I'm not going to do that. Actually, I'm getting choked up thinking I'd actually cried, because I'm thinking, my children are just now getting in and out of college. I want to have grandkids. I want to do stuff with them. And I want to travel the world. There's lots of things I wanted to do. And I thought, I'm not going to do this. Well, thankfully, when you like, I call it prayer or meditation, like active praying, meditation, being silent, letting God speak to us. 3 days later, doctor comes in, he says, do you believe you're going to walk again? Like that, right out of the blue. And I said, well, I just assumed I'd be in a wheelchair, eventually a walker, because what he told me, he said, and he stopped, he said, let me ask you again. He said, do you believe you're going to walk again? Like that. And I said, if you believe I'm going to walk again, I believe I'm going to walk again. And all of a sudden, that whole flood of, you know what, I have to do something. I have to take action. And what I'm getting at is this. Everybody on this call has probably had something in life where they were in some kind of crisis mode, a car accident, a child gets sick, a parent's in danger of losing their life, heart attack. You know what? Every one of us has had that opportunity to rise to the occasion. We know we can generate those chemicals that you talked about to get beyond a situation and get back into regular life mode again. Well, here's the thing, guys. If you can do that in crisis mode and it's instinctual, can you do that on any given day? And ask yourself, are you doing that every single day? Because the answer is you can and you should. And when you do, you can, I swear, Rock is in Thailand right now for like 6 weeks. You guys think I got it easy because I'm traveling around the United States and Canada doing surfing and whale watching and going to Yellowstone and Yosemite and doing all these awesome things. It gets even better, and you can be part of that. And we're showing you how to do it. You just got to make yourself available to this. So, in any case, Rock, I want to turn it back over to you and dig deep about the big why, because I want people to know that part of you, because they're going to sense what I sensed when I first met you. You really are the real deal. You're authentic, genuine, coming from contribution, it's prosperity through service. You don't expect anything in return, and that's the most amazing thing, is you really do live in abundance. But if you could touch on that, and we'll wrap things up after that. I know we're getting
Sure.
here. Yeah.
So great story. I didn't actually know that part about you. So again, a brother. In my first book, The Power of Your Identity, I write about the triple E, the extreme emotional experience. And whenever something like that happens, people respond either with fight or flight. And I say, why fight or flight? Why not fight or fight? And you can develop the muscle to step up and overcome your obstacles if you choose to give it an empowering meaning. So I lost all my hair to alopecia when I was 40 years old after I ran a marathon and went on a cleanse, and my system went into shock, and it attacked my immune system, and I lost all my hair. No other side effects.
Yeah.
But I could have played the victim, or I could look at it by asking a better question, which I teach what's great about this, and go, I'll never have a bad hair day again in my life. And my buddy is Greek, and he has to have his hair removed, and it's painful. And I don't have that because I have no hair on my body. I have no eyebrows. I have no eyelashes, nothing. I could sit there and say, yeah, for a year, my eyes were red and it was irritating, but my body's adapted. So there's a way to champion all of the things that you think are overbearing. I say everything in life is an asset. Everything that's sent to you is an asset.
Yep.
And pardon my language, but the only reason that it wouldn't be an asset is if you choose to look at it disempowering, and then you're an ass. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. It's all sent to you by the universe, the creator, the circumstances, whatever you want to say, for you to utilize. It's there to serve you. So why not become good at responding to the environment? So for me, I was ironically traveling through Southeast Asia when I was 21, and I lost my traveler's checks, and I called up my father and I asked him to send me some money. He said, you got yourself there, you'll get yourself home. Click, and hung up on me. And I was like, what? I had 20 bucks in my pocket. But I looked around, and for the first time in the hostel that I was in, Gary, I saw a sign that said, teach people how to speak English. And it was Japanese businessmen. And I thought, I'm going to apply for that. I don't know how to, but I must know more English than them. And I went and applied, and I just had to have conversation with them. And I got paid $5 an hour at the time, which is like 25 bucks an hour today. I was going out at nighttime with guys that were models, but I never thought of myself as a model. But I was now desperate, right? Motivation comes from desperation or inspiration. So they said, yeah, you should apply. I applied, and I started modeling underwear and running shoes. Not at the same time, but I got a job modeling. And I found a part of myself that I didn't know existed because circumstances put me in there where I had to fight back. We all have that ability. What will propagate that and increase that is to surround yourself with other people that are used to saying yes and figuring it out. People that say you can do it. So you've got to put yourself in the conversation, in the arena where people don't go, oh, poor you, it's overwhelming. But no, you can step up and through that. And I love sports metaphors because I studied Tom Brady, and this year he didn't win, but he set a record for the amount of yards passed, and he was phenomenal. The clock ran out is pretty much as simple as that. Last year, I watched the outtakes when they mic them up, and he walks around and he says, don't let yourself get to a place where you start to believe that you cannot win.
Right.
I'm going to say that again. Don't let your mind drift to a place where you start to believe you cannot win. And most people let their mind drift to a place where they believe that they don't deserve an epic life. So my why is to let you know that I grew up as a little farm boy. I'm dyslexic. I'm not very good at spelling, but I've written 3 books. I grew up on a farm where I was taught to work with my hands and not with my head. I'm introverted, yet I'm a public speaker. I have redefined myself from this little kid that had bad acne, and my brothers and sisters called me pizza face.
Yeah.
And I felt like I wouldn't want to go out there and that nobody would want to be around me. And I was ugly and dyslexic and bad at school and stupid. I had the worst self-image you could possibly imagine. My parents were divorced. I flip-flopped back and forth. My father kidnapped us to Australia. They fought over me in court as an 8.5-year-old kid. I was traumatized. I've been beaten, name it. But I redefined myself by choosing to give myself a new identity. And that's why I wrote that book, The Power of Your Identity. And I actually went from the pizza face to choosing Clint Eastwood as a role model, as a person to look up to. And I coined the phrase ruggedly handsome. And it made me feel like Clint Eastwood. And it gave me the confidence to go out there and interact with people. So whatever you are, wherever you are, whatever the circumstances are, it does not matter. It's irrelevant. You can rewrite and redefine yourself if you just hang around the right people that will encourage you to do that. And you can borrow their belief and their wisdom, and you can lead an epic life.
That's awesome. Thanks, Rock. Yeah, I agree. Hey, going to conferences, I'm always seeking out the next conference. I might spend thousands of dollars, but I'll get something that's going to make me 10 times that, or something I learned about somebody like you. So I learned something about somebody that helps me personally. So I appreciate you sharing that story. I think everybody else does too. We better pull the panel over here and see. I've gotten so caught up, I forgot to check for questions. So let me reduce this panel, go to the question panel. Okay, let's see what we got here. A lot of people are saying thank you. Okay, here's let's see, that was Daryl's going to the event. Good.
And by the way, while you're looking for that really quickly, people that have a time story, I'm going to teach my 7-phase system for setting up a miracle week at your event. Okay. And it's one of the most powerful pieces I teach because people have a time story all the time, especially today with social media. We're all overwhelmed. But I managed to achieve so much in a week with this system. And I'm excited to share it with your group because I've actually never shared it publicly. I teach it to my tribe, but I've never shared it publicly. It'll be the first time I share it publicly because people have gotten so much out of it in my tribe that I've decided now to turn it into a product. And the first time I'll share it publicly will be at your event. Awesome.
Well, I appreciate that. And I did just scan the questions. A lot of them were associated with the name of the book. So I know we mentioned Superman. And then
The Rise of Superman. Yep.
And what are your books again? Go ahead and repeat your books again, Rock.
So my first book is The Power of Your Identity. You can get it on Amazon. My second book, which I think they're both great. I really, honestly, I'm going to say something that sounds silly, but my second book you can get on audio. I suggest you get an audio version. Okay. I had a guy read it, and I was listening to it for the first time myself 2 weeks ago in Mexico, and I couldn't put it down. I'm like, this is great stuff, which sounds crazy. But so it's called Your Epic Life Blueprint. I think you can get it for $13 or $15 or something on Audible. I highly recommend it. It's really, really, really great book. Okay. So and then the third book it's not out, it's not published. It's just for my tribe.
Good. Well, thanks, Rock. And one more question. One final was from Faisal Khan. I think you actually spoke to him probably a year or two ago. He's a New Jersey police officer and one of my students in the investor agent training program. He's asking, based on his current circumstances, he's got a regular job. So his income's limited because of the job. He wants to invest more in real estate. He's a Tony Robbins guy too. I know Faisal and I have become really good friends. And Faisal, I got some good news for you. Please come to the event because I'm going to make you part of the program from the inside, just because of your determination, your behavior, your commitment to growth and progress and serving others. So, but back to your question, Rock, what he's asking is, what coach should he hire first if he's it like that? He's got a lot of information, he's got a lot of education, and he's ready to break through that sort of cellophane barrier, you know. And I think I would choose you, obviously, but maybe you or somebody in the group, you or me. But what's your thought on that for Faisal? And you'll probably go to meet him in person, by the way, too, in Orlando.
Yeah, I mean, we'll it's a month out. We'll meet in Florida. I would probably need a little more information on what for him is his block right now. You know, I charge $1,500 an hour to coach, so that's why I've leveraged my coaching through M1, where every week you get half an hour coaching with me as a group coaching, which makes it affordable. But you know, usually what happens is people have trouble taking action, and if that's the case, that's one deal. But if you're in a job and you want to make some extra income, we actually teach the 5 fundamentals to financial freedom, and the first one is earn. What can you do to earn more so you have more money that you can put to work? So I would have that conversation with him. Can he ask for a raise? Can he do overtime? Can he drive an Uber? Can he rent a room in his house like my mom does to Airbnb? And start to get his confidence up in the earning department, maximize that. Yep. And then we go through the other 4 pillars. So I would be excited to have lots of conversations with him, and that would happen inside the M1. But other than that, I mean, just need more specifics on what the challenge is, because there's a lot of different coaches out there.
Okay, good. Hey, well, we're running along, guys. So real quick wrap up here. Just remember, get your registration in for the 3-day event. Beverly did extend the early bird special price, not the early bird itself, but she wants surveys from you guys. So fill out the surveys and save yourself some money. Go ahead and register, because the seats started going pretty quickly just in the last week. Rock's going to be there. I'll be there. Ryan Snow's going to be there. You're going to get a lot of education. You're going to be able to network, like Rock was saying. There's no better way for you to grow than to be around other people who are also wanting to grow and growing. So be there. Look forward to it. And Rock, everybody's saying thank you, and I really want to give you a big, from my heart, man, a big hug all the way to Thailand. Thank you for doing this. This was absolutely incredible. And I can't wait to see you when you get to Florida and have you be a part of this big event, man. So God bless you, and Andrew, and it sounds like you're doing awesome this year. And just thanks for everything you're doing, man. You know.
Yeah, and thanks to you too. By the way, there's a lot of people in our tribe that have benefited from your teachings and are very, very grateful. And the beautiful thing is, I curate the people that I let into my tribe. I let very, very few people teach to my students, because I'm a little protective, like a father. And so the people that come in like you have taken really good care of our people. And I just want to shout out to you. Thank you for being the awesome human that you are. And I look really, really forward to co-creating and just delivering massive value to the people that you attract in your world. So God bless you, brother.
Okay. Well, listen, everybody, God bless all of you. And thank you for being part of this. We look forward to next week's webinar. Look forward to seeing you all next month in Orlando. In the meantime, have an awesome, blessed day, and just get beyond yourself. You've got a deep wealth of inner strength that everybody has. You just got to reach in and grab it, guys. Okay. Just do that. Do that one thing. Meet me halfway. Meet Rock halfway. You know, that like Rock said, when the student's ready, the teacher will arrive. Okay. So you guys have an awesome night, and we will see you next week. Take care. Rock,
I'll see you in Orlando.
You got it, man. Take it easy.
All right. Good night.
Good night, everybody.